Hey everyone! In this third and final holiday 2020 video, I want to show you all how to make a super cute Christmas sweater friendship bracelet design. Just like the other patterns I have shown this past week, this bracelet has a complicated look, but it has a very easy knotting structure. And this bracelet is also really nice because it is quite a bit thinner. So for those of you who don't like to wear super thick bracelets, this one will be super great for you. You will only need 8 strings for this bracelet. You'll have 2 red strings, 2 green strings, and 4 white strings. Because this bracelet is quite a bit thinner, you don't have to measure your strings as long as 40 inches, but maybe 30 to 33. At least that amount works well for a 6-inch bracelet with a loop and ties, so be sure to adjust that accordingly for your wrist size. And this pattern does mirror, so from the middle to the outside, you want to order your strings white, green, white, red. I'm also going to segment knot it in a way that opens up the pattern very nicely. And it will work for a shape start, but of course, if you want, you can just have ties at the top and start it just right away. So first, to start off, we are going to do an inverse chevron with our white strands. So take your 2 middle white strands and do a forward knot with them. And really quickly, if you are watching this video over again, you can skip this step and move on to the rest of the pattern. So starting with the left strand of our middle 2, we're going to go ahead and do backward knots across the next 3 strings to the left of it. And with inverse chevrons, I like to knot the first row pretty loosely, so that way I can just start the shape right away and it'll just make it a lot easier to form up the pattern. And now we're going to come back to the right strand of our middle 2, and this time we're going to do forward knots across the next 3 strings to the right of it. For the next step, we're going to come back to our middle 2 strands, which is now going to be our green color. And now this is where it gets different. This time we are only going to do backward knots onto the next 2 strings to the left of it. So we are ignoring this outermost left strand. And to finish off this side, you want to take your outermost left strand and do a forward knot onto the string to the right of it, which will be your green strand. And then we're going to come back to the middle and repeat that on the right side, but mirror it. So take your other green strand in the middle, and this time do forward knots onto the next 2 strings to the right of it. And then you'll take your outermost right strand and do a backward knot onto the green strand. And then come back to your middle 2 strands once again and tie a forward knot. And we are going to do a full inverse chevron with our middle 2 strands like we did in the very first step. So left strand of the middle 2, do your 3 backward knots. And then come back to the right strand of the middle 2 and do 3 forward knots. And again, come back to your middle 2 strands, which will now be your red color. And you are going to repeat the exact same thing as we did in the second step with our green strands. So, first off, tie your middle 2 strands with a forward knot. And with the left strand of the 2, go ahead and do 2 backward knots onto the next 2 strings to the left of it. Then take your white strand on the outermost left side and do a forward knot onto the red string. And then come back to the other red strand in the middle. Do 2 forward knots onto the next 2 strings to the right of it. And then take your outermost right strand, do a backward knot onto the red string. And then, yet again, we are going to take our middle 2 white strands and do a full inverse chevron. Take your middle 2 strands, tie a forward knot, and go ahead and do that inverse chevron. And then we'll come back to the center again. And finally, we can switch things up a bit in this pattern. Take your middle 2 strands, tie a forward knot with them. And then you will take your white strands that are on the left and right side of your green strands, and you'll bring them to the center because now we are bringing our inverse chevron into a regular chevron. So go ahead on the left side, do a forward knot onto the green strand. And then on the right side, do a backward knot. And then connect the 2 middle white strands with a forward knot. And then we're going to come back to our red strings over here. And like the white strands, we're going to bring them to the middle. So on the left, do 2 forward knots onto the green and white strand. And then on the right side, do 2 backward knots onto the green and white strand. And then connect your 2 middle strands with a forward knot. And next, we're going to take our outermost left and right strands and do a chevron with them. So on the left side, do 3 forward knots onto the next 3 strings. And then on the right side, you will do 3 backward knots onto the next 3 strings. Then connect your middle 2 strings with a forward knot. And before we can make a chevron with our green strands, we want to take the white strands that are next to the green ones and bring them to the outside. Because as you can see on this pattern, it's kind of being bordered by the white strands. So we need to make these knots first in order to do that. So on the left side, you will take the white strand, do a backward knot onto the green strand. And then you can go ahead and bring your green strand to the middle by doing 2 forward knots onto these next 2 strings. And then we'll mirror that on the right side. Take your second string from the right, your white strand, do a forward knot onto the green strand. And now you can bring your green strand to the middle by doing 2 backward knots onto the next 2 strands. And then connect your middle 2 strands with a forward knot. And then one more time, take your outermost left and right strands and make a chevron with them. Then connect your middle 2 strands with a forward knot. And for our very final step, we are doing these sort of edge pieces right here to be able to open this back up for an inverse chevron and to repeat the pattern down the line. So on the left side, you will take your outermost left strand and first you will do a forward knot onto the white strand to the right of it. And then do a forward backward knot onto the green strand. And then do a backward knot onto the white strand. And then that way, the red is back on the very left side where it needs to be. And then on the right side, take your outermost right strand, do a backward knot onto the white strand. And then do a backward forward knot onto the green strand. And then a forward knot back onto the white strand. And that is the whole set completed, and that is how you work up this Christmas sweater pattern. And like I mentioned before in the beginning of the video, if you want to watch this over again, you can skip that very first connection of the middle 2 knots, and that is what that is going to be when you get down here. So skip that step and just move on into the rest of the inverse chevron, and then you will have your bracelet completed. I really hope you guys liked all of the holiday videos I put out this year. Thank you all so much for watching this video today, and I will see you in the next one, which is going to be part 2 of my collection video.